Hello, my lovely rose garden, and welcome back to our roots. I'm Avalon,
And I'm Ray.
and we are finally coming back to, I think, the biggest video that kind of kick-started my old channel was the reaction video that I did with you to Throne of Glass.
Wasn't even really so much of a reaction as it was just kind of a stream of
Like
consciousness.
a rant review.
Yeah.
Um, and yeah, thinking back on it, that was one of the first videos we ever made that actually got a significant number of views
Mm-hmm.
and that we got subscribers from. So we're going back full circle to now actually read through it. I finally got it checked out from the library and I'm going to read it because a lot of people, not a lot of people, but there were a handful of comments that said I wasn't being fair. I didn't read the whole thing. So I'm going to read the whole thing and you're going to listen
Yay.
and you're going to listen. And hopefully I will have some good notes about writing and books and actual academic information instead of just going fuck 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 fuck. Although there will be plenty of that
Yeah, there
too.
will be plenty of that.
So if that's what you're here for, you're in the right place. That said, if you're a fan of this book and you think that Sarah J. Maas can do no wrong and is the greatest literary mind of our time, that is fantastic for you. I love that. You're probably not going to want to stay for this video, so you should go ahead and click away now, but make sure you like and subscribe before you do, just because I need those numbers. And and with that out of the way, let's go ahead and start chapter 1 of Throne of Glass, which is the first of a series. I believe the series name is also Throne of Glass. I think a lot of these modern series are kind of just named after the first book of the series.
Mm.
I could be wrong. Feel free to correct me in the comments. I am here to listen and learn. Throne of Glass by Sarah J. Maas, which was published in 2012.
Wow, that's over 10 years ago.
Yeah, it's been a while.
Ugh.
And the dedication reads, "To all my readers from Fiction Press, for being with me at the beginning and staying long after the end. Thank you for everything."
Aw, that's sweet.
So, I don't know anything about Sarah J. Maas as a person. This is not about her as a person. I do kind of like the, respecting the beginnings of starting out writing on Fiction Press, which, if I am recalling correctly, is like fanfiction.net for original works.
Yeah.
It's made by the same
Like it's
people.
it's slightly more adult than Wattpad.
Yeah, so, you know, honoring the original readership, that's fine. That's nice. We respect it. We respect it. Here's a big ass map that I'm going to ignore because I'll be real. I love looking at fantasy maps in books. I like it when they're included. We have plans to include one in Shifting Roots. And I respect the artistry that goes into making these maps. Never once has this helped me visualize the story.
Mm. Yeah,
Like,
same.
I like them. I like that they're there. I think they're fun to look at. But when it comes to visualizing how the story is set, where it's taking place, how far away things are, I just kind of visualize that on my own. I don't really.
Yeah, I just kind of
I don't refer back to the map.
I always come up with the topology just off the top of my head. Yeah, I've never looked at a fantasy map and been all like, "Oh, I know where this is in the story." I'm like, "No, that doesn't happen, at least to me."
Like, occasionally, you'll get one where you can tell that it's based on a real world location, and that becomes kind of interesting.
Yeah, that's fun.
I will admit, the one and only time I have ever cared about a fantasy map is the Johto region of Pokemon because you showed me that video.
Yeah.
Because, fun fact for all of you nerds at home, all of the locations in Johto are based on actual places in Japan.
And not just the towns, but also the routes and the little side areas and everything like that.
Yeah.
And technically you can say, oh, well, all maps in Pokemon games are based on certain areas, and you can certainly, like, point it out and whatnot. Uh, but Pokemon has yet to, until this point, get so down to the down to the roots of what the location is since Johto, I think.
There's a really good video, and I wish I knew the channel that posted it so I could recommend it, but I mean, I'm sure if you search it, there's a video breaking down what all of the towns represent and how, Stantler are only found on this one route between these two towns because that's where there's a lot of deer in real life Japan.
Nara and Kyoto.
Yeah, and that's really neat, and it goes into the mythology. Anyway, I'm getting off topic already, but...
Yeah. You just really want to avoid this.
Well, because I am not promising that I will be charitable, but I'm going to be as charitable as I can be. So I don't want to be like, oh, this has a map and it's stupid. It's like, no. The map is great. I love that it has a map. I'm not personally ever going to refer back to this information.
Yeah.
But it's nice that it's there.
Exactly.
Chapter 1.
The Bezels of writing.
God, we're such online trash.
Yeah.
After a year of slavery in the salt mines of Endovir.
In the salt mines.
Selena Sardothian was accustomed to being escorted everywhere in shackles and at sword point. Most of the thousands of slaves in Endovir received similar treatment, though an extra half-dozen guards always walked Selena to and from the mines. That was expected by Adderlin's most notorious assassin. What she did not usually expect, however, was a hooded man in black at her side, as there was now. He gripped her arm as he led her through the shining building in which most of Endovir's officials and overseers were housed. They strode down corridors, up flights of stairs, and around until she hadn't the slightest chance of finding her way out again. At least, that was her escort's intention, because she hadn't failed to notice that when they went up and down the same staircase... she hadn't failed to notice when they went up and down the same staircase within a matter of minutes. Nor had she missed when they zigzagged between levels, even though the building was a standard grid of hallways and stairwells. As if she'd lose her bearings that easily. She might have been insulted if he wasn't trying so hard. They entered a particularly long hallway, silent save for their footsteps. Though the man grasping her arm was tall and fit, she could see nothing of the features concealed beneath his hood. Another tactic meant to confuse and intimidate her. The black clothes were probably a part of it, too. His head shifted in her direction, and Selena flashed him a grin. He looked forward again, his iron grip tightening. So, and I'm pausing here because, although there is nothing egregiously bad about this opening description, I want to talk about a writing technique or trope, or however you want to call it, called establishing character moments. And this is pretty much the literary equivalent of a first impression.
Mm-hmm.
So, within the first few paragraphs to pages of a character being introduced,
mm-hmm.
that is the first look that your reader is getting at them, and they should understand what they need to know about this character. And follow me with this here, because this is, you at home, this is going to go, it's going to take a little bit to get where I want to go with this, but trust me on it. So
you must follow the breadcrumbs.
Yeah. So here's where I'm going with this, right? You have establishing character moments. Usually the first thing that the reader is seeing your character do or say, you want that to kind of be like their impression of the character. You want that to be their understanding of who this is as a person. There is very much a reason why in Shifting Roots, and I am going to refer to my own writings because,
yeah,
obviously that's what I'm the most familiar with is my own stuff. In Shifting Roots, there is a reason why the very first thing that you see Dawnfrost doing is participating in a ancient ceremony that she has gone through, that her parents went through, her grandparents, great-grandparents, generations of Oaklanders have been through this same traditional ceremony of advancing from the rank of New Claw to Ranger. They have all done the exact same thing. The words haven't changed. This establishes something about her, that she cares about these traditions, that she is very proud of her Oakland heritage without her having to directly turn to the camera and say that.
Man, I sure do love living in Oakland.
Like, there's a reason why that's the very first thing she does. And then, immediately, she is distracted by the sound of a crane, something that shouldn't be there, and she goes to follow it and finds Wolfthorn. So we see this character, she is introduced to us, and before we have spent more than a handful of paragraphs with her, we understand that she cares about her culture and its traditions, but she can be distracted by this outsider. This is also the first time we see Wolfthorn, and he is not in River Colony where he's supposed to be. He is all the way across the lake in Oak Colony to talk to her. So we also understand where he's coming from, what he's about. He does not have that same loyalty and respect for tradition that she does. He is loyal to her. He is coming to see her all the way across the lake. Mm-hmm. And he is what distracts her from her duty. And you get all of that information very quickly. It's the first thing you see of these characters. It is what is going to come up multiple times throughout the book as these characters interact both with each other and other characters. There will be callbacks to this moment in the way that they behave. What is your initial impression of Selena?
That she is an assassin. And, she, I guess, pays attention to things.
Yeah, like...
And she's kind of snarky. In very much a very cool, hip teen kind of way. It's like, oh, this adult thinks that they're gonna fool me, but I'm too smart for them.
Yeah, and that's what I get primarily, is this, oh, I'm not getting lost. This guy thinks he's gonna trick me. He's underestimating me. I'm gonna flash him a cute little smirk. Which, like, I don't even fully get assassin out of this. Well, I mean, she directly states...
Yeah, she says she's an assassin.
It states, oh, I'm the most notorious assassin, but her actions don't give me assassin.
Yeah. Well, like, I guess the way that she's... Like, where I'm coming from is that, well, if she is an assassin, then yeah... them trying to confuse her this way would be kind of silly. So I'm just over here like, well, why would they even try this? Because she would clearly have training against this kind of thing.
Well, and then I go back to this line. The building was a standard grid of hallways and stairwells. Mm-hmm. It's a grid. Mm-hmm. What is the purpose of going up and down staircases and zigzagging through it if it's a grid?
Yeah, it feels kind of...
It is designed to be navigated easily by any... It's a grid, motherfucker. Yeah. 2 up, 3 over.
So it feels kind of dumb that this guy's even doing it in the first place. Like, because assumedly he would know that she is a deadly assassin TM, and that's why he's going through all this trouble. But also, realistically...
Because she is the deadly assassin.
Wouldn't an assassin already be able to still figure out that this is just a grid?
It's a grid.
It feels like a lot of unnecessary OT. I'm so clever. Oh, the cleverness of me. Without it, realistically, this shouldn't even be happening.
Yeah, and this is kind of where I'm going with it, is that, so she's got that snark, that kind of teen, I'm too cool, arrogant kind of vibe.
Well,
which is fine.
Even more, it comes at the expense of making another character, just writing this character to be an absolute idiot. And not knowing, because it's very easy to make your character seem very smart if the character that they're being juxtaposed with is doing something inherently foolish.
Yeah, so that, perfectly stated. But also, she's the most notorious assassin in all the land. So what do we open with her doing? being escorted through fucking jail. She got caught.
Rip.
And this is where I'm talking about, like, these establishing character moment. The very first thing that we see this most notorious assassin in all the land doing, she has already been caught. And this does not appear to be a clever ruse of hers to get close to a target, which could be some genuine good assassinry. She got fucking caught.
Rip.
And we will come to see, because I do remember this from my first time reading, she's been here a while. Okay, this is not part of a plan. She just got caught.
Rip.
And if I were the most notorious assassin in all of the land and I got fucking caught, I'd be a little embarrassed. I don't think I'd be walking around like I was hot shit. So you could have this character who is arrogant, who is kind of snarky, who does notice all these little details. That's fine. There's nothing wrong with her character as presented so far. The problem that I'm having here with her establishing moment is that you're telling me that she's this badass assassin, but she got caught. You're telling me she's in prison, she got caught, and she is not, as we're going to see here in a moment, she's not getting herself out. So you want me to believe that she is a badass. You're telling me what you want me to think of her without showing me why I should think it.
Yeah.
And that's kind of what the show versus tell thing gets misused a lot, I find, in writing advice. Yeah. But here it is, this is a badass assassin who's cool and snarky being escorted through a hallway. Like,
at jail.
She's not doing anything particularly badass or clever at the moment.
Yeah.
Are you sure you want this to be her establishing moment? This is what you want the readers to see of her first. I really feel like it would have been better if we skipped that.
Yeah.
And we had this from a character that we're about to see. So there's a little bit more mystery around her before the reader gets to know her better. Well, we'll talk about how I would have rewritten this book at a later time. But
yeah, I think that we'll leave that to the very end.
Yes, so. It was flattering, she supposed, even if she didn't know what was happening or why he'd been waiting for her outside the mine shaft. After a day of cleaving rock salt from the innards of the mountain, finding him standing there with 6 guards hadn't improved her mood. Okay, so she's in a bad mood, but then she's flashing him this cheeky little smile.
Also,
again, make it make sense.
Also, this reminds me of this sentence, she might have been insulted if he wasn't trying so hard, and then she goes on to say, it was flattering, she supposed, even if she didn't know what was happening, and da-da-da-da. So I'm just all like, well, that kind of says the same thing.
That is a hallmark of SJM's writing, I find, from what I read of the ACOTAR books, is that she kind of repeats the same sentiment.
She reiterates a lot.
Yeah, and, you know...
well, I guess you have to do that to get your books this long.
Yeah.
I mean, okay, I'm going to be straight with everybody. If a book is over, 250 pages, I find that, you have to do a lot of padding, especially when it comes to YA.
Yeah, and this is one of her less egregious ones. This book is only about 400, whereas the ACOTAR books get up to 900 pages. Yeah, so this is not that bad comparatively.
When it comes to a book that, especially one that's a first in a series, if you're going over 250 pages, usually I start to notice some padding involved. Either that or the story gets way away from people. And I'm not going to say this as a blanket statement oh, this happens all the time, but this is something that I've just noticed, especially nowadays, now that She Who Must Not Be Named basically made it the industry standard for books for young adults and teenagers to be over 300 pages at the very least.
As long as possible.
As long as possible. Usually it ends up with an overinflated plot, and you repeat yourself a lot.
Yep.
Anyway, that's my nasty little opinion. I'm sure there'll be plenty more.
Oh, yes. But her ears had pricked when he'd introduced himself to her overseer. Wait a... But her ears had pricked?
Her ears had
when he'd
pricked.
introduced him. It was flattering, she supposed, even if she didn't know what was happening or why he'd been waiting for her outside the mine shaft.
Mm-hmm. Standing there with 6 guards hadn't improved her mood.
Yeah.
But
her ears had pricked. So are we back in, are we still in the past tense? Maybe I'm reading this incorrectly.
Mm.
Her ears had pricked when he'd introduced himself to her overseer as Cale Westfall, captain of the Royal Guard, and suddenly the sky loomed, the mountains pushed from behind, and even the earth swelled toward her knees. She hadn't tasted fear in a while, hadn't let herself taste fear. When she awoke every morning, she repeated the same words, "I will not be afraid." For a year those words had meant the difference between breaking and bending. They had kept her from shattering in the darkness of the mines. Not that she'd let the captain know any of that.
Okay, so she's been here over a year. How old was she when she... How old is she right now?
We'll find out, I'm sure, but... Okay, so they've... So again, yeah, they've just been referring to him as the man who's walking with her as if... I assumed that he was just a guard.
Yeah.
But if she's putting... He introduced himself to her overseer... So the overseer is not the one walking with her right now.
Yeah.
It's Cale.
Yeah.
Then why didn't they say that sooner? Again,
I don't know.
This just reads badly. It reads badly when you're reading it out loud, especially jumping back to her ears had pricked instead of her ears pricked up. You know, it takes us like, okay, so this happened before. So before what we just read, she knew who this was.
Yeah.
And then for some reason, the author decided to pretend that we didn't.
Mm-hmm.
And I feel like you could have just cut to this moment of her leaving the mine.
Yeah.
Like, imagine this as the opening of the book instead. Instead of hearing about this happening, we're there with her in the mine.
Yeah.
And she is thinking about this toil and this work that she is being forced to endure as a slave in these mines to, you know, for whatever botch she did on this job that got her caught. And she's probably thinking bitterly about this and, you know, wondering how it all went wrong and whatnot. Thoughts you would think an assassin would have, even if she is an arrogant and childish one.
Yeah.
And then she walks out of the mine and sees this guy standing there with 6 guards.
Mm-hmm.
And she's wondering what's going on.
It's just like, oh shit.
And then he introduces himself as Cale Westfall, captain of the Royal Guard, and then that's the end of the chapter.
Yeah.
Would that not be a much stronger opening?
Yeah.
Instead of bouncing us back to hear about it.
It's way too early in the book to be already giving us flashbacks.
Yeah. Selena examined the gloved hand holding her arm. The dark leather almost matched the dirt on her skin. She adjusted her torn and filthy tunic with her free hand and held in her sigh. Entering the mines before sunrise and departing after dusk, she rarely glimpsed the sun. She was frightfully pale beneath the dirt. It was true that she had been attractive once, beautiful even, but, well, it didn't matter now, did it?
Oh, wait a second, let me... I thought I misheard something. Entering the mines before sunrise and... Okay, I thought you said...
Yeah, no issues there.
Okay.
They turned down another hallway, and she studied the stranger's finely crafted sword. Its shimmering pommel was shaped like an eagle mid-flight. Noticing her stare, his gloved hand descended to rest upon its golden head. Another smile tugged at the corners of her lips. "You're a long way from Rifthold, Captain," she said, clearing her throat. "Did you come with the army? I heard thumping around earlier." She peered into the darkness beneath his hood, but saw nothing. Still, she felt his eyes upon her face, judging, weighing, testing. She stared right back. The captain of the Royal Guard would be an interesting opponent, maybe even worthy of some effort on her part. And again, her being arrogant, not a problem.
Yeah. But also, you got caught, girl.
But again, we have seen nothing that warrants this arrogance. Because, yeah, she's talking about how, she heard this army thumping around earlier. Like, cool, way to tell us that she notices these things after the fact.
Yeah.
But then earlier, it was flattering, she supposed, even if she didn't know what was happening or what's waiting for her outside the mine.
Mm-hmm.
Like, again, these are conflicting statements. So you're telling us she's observant and clever, but you're also telling us that she's got no idea what this guy is doing here or what's going to happen to her.
Yeah.
And it's not meshing well.
Mm-hmm.
Versus, again, if you had gone with the earlier idea of showing us her in the mine first, she could have been noticing these things throughout.
Mm-hmm.
Like she's working in the mines and she hears a rumbling overhead. Someone beside her freaks out thinking it's a cave-in, and she thinks, no, that's the sound of horse hooves. There's a large force moving somewhere in the mountain above us.
Yeah.
And then that pays off in this moment when Kale comes in and she's like, oh, you're leading an army. Yeah. And then he could be kind of taken aback at how she would have known that because she's been in the mine all day.
Yeah.
And then we would have a better understanding of her skills that warrants this arrogance.
Yeah.
But I didn't write this book, so fuck me, I guess.
Yeah.
SJM's laughing all the way to the bank, so I don't think she's going to be too offended by my criticisms. Finally, the man raised his sword hand, and the folds of his cloak fell to conceal the blade. As his cloak shifted, she spied a gold wyvern embroidered on his tunic, the royal seal. What do you care for the armies of Aderlin? He replied. How lovely it was to hear a voice like her own, cool and articulate, even if he was a nasty brute. Ma'am, he is the captain of the Royal Guard. I don't think I would call him a nasty brute.
Also, isn't being articulate and being a brute, like, counterintuitive to each other?
Yeah, there's a lot of oxymoronic descriptions
being
in this.
A brute generally denotes being unintelligent and unarticulate.
Yeah, there's a lot of that. There's a lot of... We're going to describe this character one way and then describe them in the complete opposite way. And you're just supposed to follow along with it. As if that makes sense.
Okay.
Nothing, she said, shrugging. He let out a growl of annoyance. Oh, it'd be nice to see his blood spill across the marble. She'd lost her temper once before, once when her first overseer chose the wrong day to push her too hard. She still remembered the feeling of embedding the pickaxe into his gut and the stickiness of his blood on her hands and face.
And you didn't get executed for that?
She could disarm 2 of these guards in a heartbeat. Would the captain fare better than her late overseer? Contemplating the potential outcome, she grinned at him again.
Why haven't you broken out of jail yet if you can do all this?
Yeah, again, establishing character.
Yeah.
She's telling us that she can do these things, but why aren't we seeing her do... Why are we not seeing this happen?
Why are we getting this all in vague flashback?
Why are we not... Why isn't this the day that we're walking in on where she does this and then sees this guy waiting for her at the end and thinks, oh, they're going to kill me now because I killed that guy.
Yeah.
But, oh well, at least I'll die with my dignity. Like, why are we getting this in flashback? And this is a major issue that I have throughout this book from what I remember when I first read it, which admittedly was years ago.
Yeah.
We get told a lot of this cool assassin shit that she did, but we don't get to see any of it. Even, like, the little prequel thing, that novella that came out, I think a lot of people talked about how it was more
From what
telling.
I vaguely remember, I remember that being a big issue, is that she does a lot of really dumb shit in this book that doesn't really,
Yeah. That's my thing. She's talking a big game here, but let's see it. You know, let's...
Also, I just want to know how old she is because, like, you know, if she's like 17 and she's already been here for a year, I'm all like, yeah, right, you're the best assassin in the country. This is teenage bravado and you know it.
Yeah, it's... Again, there's no problem with having an arrogant character, but show me why they're allowed to be that way.
Either show that she's full of shit, like, on purpose. If you do it by accident,
then she's just full of shit.
Then she's just full of shit. But either show that she's full of shit, or show her actually doing something cool.
Yeah, because we're hearing a lot. Well, now we're the ones being repetitive.
Yeah.
Don't you look at me like that, he warned, and his hand drifted back toward his sword. Selena hid her smirk this time. They passed a series of wooden doors that she'd seen a few minutes ago. If she wanted to escape, she simply had to turn left at the next hallway and take the stairs down 3 flights. The only thing all the intended disorientation had accomplished was to familiarize her with the building. Idiots. Yes, it is dumb. We've gone over that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
It's a grid. You've
also said this before in the book. That, yes, haha. It's like, yes. You've said this. Stop repeating yourself. We can repeat ourselves all we want because this is unscripted and off the cuff. This is a book that assumedly was combed over by a professional editor. Or 2 or 3. And has made so much money.
So much money. Where are we going again? She asked sweetly, brushing a strand of her matted hair from her face. When he didn't reply, she clenched her jaw. Well, if you're so fucking smart, haven't you already figured out where this way goes? The halls echoed too loudly for her to attack him without alerting the whole building. She hadn't seen where he'd put the key to her irons, and the 6 guards who trailed them would be nuisances, not to mention the shackles. They entered a hallway hung with iron chandeliers.
In irons and shackles, the same thing?
I think irons are for wrists and shackles are for
they're
ankles.
They're both called shackles.
Is what they're implying here. You know, and I'll give a pass on that. Fine, whatever. My thing is, she's an assassin. Right?
Mm-hmm.
You know, assassins, the people who kill very
Assassin.
stealthily.
Assassin.
The ones who are known for, like, subterfuge and poison and cloak and dagger kind of stuff.
Uh-huh.
The ones who don't directly charge their enemy in a fight.
Yeah, it's more of like a soldier kind of thing.
And she's like, oh, I could take this guy and these 6 guards and, like, brute force my way. And I'm like, you're a fucking assassin. Brute force is not your forte. Why?
Some of the best assassins in the world have been
the point of
people who just, you know, slip in and slip out.
And this is where I go back to notorious assassin, because I'm like, you know what? Maybe that was not meant to imply that she's the best. Maybe that was just to imply that
she's well known for being a fucking dumbass and bad at her job.
Because if you're a good assassin, no one knows who the fuck you are. Because you don't get seen.
Yep.
You get in and out and you're not noticed. The best assassins are the ones who don't make it look like it was an assassination.
I always just think
because you don't want to raise the alarm.
The fact that a lot of shinobi back in the day were women who pretended to work in the sex industry in Japan and then just took out so many political rivals of their clients just by doing what they do.
Okay. The point of an assassin is not that you're big and strong, it's that you slip in and out without getting caught, which she already has been. I cannot emphasize enough that this bitch is walking around like she's the hottest shit to ever poison a drink.
To ever hot and shit.
And she got caught. By definition, she is not the best assassin in Adderlin if you get fucking caught. I really hope I'm not spiking the mic.
I don't think so.
So I just had to call that out, that she's being like, oh, I'll just take these guys, and I could, if not for extenuating circumstances. And I'm like, no, that's not your job. That's not what an assassin does.
Also, just in general, this is really not proving away the whole, like, you're a teenager who's just, like, talking a big game.
That is my impression of her. That's the establishing character moment to me, is being, I'm such a cool assassin, I could kill all 7 of these guys with my bare hands.
This is like every edgy DeviantArt OC.
It really is. That's what it's serving to me right now. It's not, I'm going to follow along quietly and just make note of my passages and see if there's a chance that I can slip away.
This is like the D&D character that everyone hates in the group.
This is the person who has never played D&D before, who thinks that they're just like the best rogue ever.
Yeah.
Like, she's even straight up like talking to the guy and being like, oh, where are we going? And it's like,
he's not going to tell you.
First of all, A, he's not going to tell you exactly, and B, okay, so you've just tipped him off.
Mm-hmm.
You're not playing this sneaky, because now he is definitely suspicious that you're going to try to run off.
Mm-hmm.
That's what I would think if I was walking with a, high security prisoner, and they're like, hee, where are we going? I'm like, it's okay, like so you're slick. Looking for a place to run. Like,
you ain't slick.
God. Anyway, outside the windows lining the wall, night had fallen. Lanterns kindled so bright they offered few shadows to hide in. See, just that. That was fine. That was a cool assassin-y detail to notice.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, just leave that and get rid of all this other shit.
Mm-hmm.
From the courtyard, she could hear the other slaves shuffling toward the wooden building where they slept. The moans of agony amongst the clanks of chains made a chorus as familiar as the dreary work songs they sang all day. The occasional solo of the whip added to the symphony of brutality Aderlin had created for its greatest criminals, poorest citizens, and latest conquests. That's fine. That paragraph is fine. Wouldn't change a thing.
Good paragraph. Good job. You did it.
While some of the prisoners were people accused of attempting to practice magic, not that they could, given that magic had vanished from the kingdom, these...
Oh, I wonder what'll happen. I wonder if the magic will come back to the kingdom.
These days, more and more rebels arrived at Endovir. Most were from Elwi, one of the last countries still fighting Aderlin's rule. But when she pestered them for news, many just stared at her with empty eyes, already broken. She shuddered to consider what they'd endured at the hands of Aderlin's forces. Some days she wondered if they would have been better off dying on the butchering blocks instead, and if she might have been better off dying that night she'd been betrayed and captured too. You know what? I'm fine with this in terms of expositioning. It's one paragraph. It's not that long. Mm-hmm. There's some character beats included. This is fine. But she had other things to think about as they continued their walk. Was she finally to be hanged? Sickness coiled in her stomach. She was important enough to warrant an execution from the captain of the Royal Guard himself.
Are you, though?
But why bring her inside this building first? And again, why wasn't that what you were thinking about earlier?
Yeah.
So you were thinking a lot about how, this guy's just here to intimidate me, and he's... And I would have been more like, am I gonna fucking die? Like... Oh shit, I better get away.
Yeah.
I better put a little more effort into,
this escape attempt.
Getting out of here. At last they stopped before a set of red and gold glass doors so thick that she couldn't see through them. By the way, did you know that this building is like glass? And that you are able to see through most of it? Which would be really cool, given that it's a prison? And that would definitely increase security, except it has never been described as such before this point. Did you see anywhere where she said that the walls are see-through?
No.
Up till now?
No.
No. So, the whole red and gold glass doors so thick you can't see through them just comes out of fucking nowhere.
It's like, I sure hope you can't see through the doors. I'm pretty sure that's what doors are for.
Is it because they're glass doors? There is non-transparent glass.
Yeah, it's frosted
Not
glass,
all
man.
glass is transparent. If it's red and gold, I would assume that it's
And
heavily tinted.
And heck, if it's blown with certain chemicals, then it can very much not be transparent, just in general.
My parents have a glass window that I can't see through because it's bubbled.
Yep.
This is fairly common in our world today, and definitely was back in 2012, so I don't know what the fuck I'm supposed to make of this. I don't even know if I'm correctly reading this and that the other walls are transparent, although that would be cool as shit if they were, because it would make sense.
Though it feels like this is being remarked upon, so it's odd that she cannot see through these particular set of doors.
It just reads weird. Captain Westfall jerked his chin at the two guards standing on either side of the doors, and they stomped their spears in greeting. The captain's grip tightened until it hurt. He yanked Selena closer, but her feet seemed made of lead, and she pulled against him. "You'd rather stay in the mines?" he asked, sounding faintly amused. "Perhaps if I were told what this was all about, I wouldn't feel so inclined to resist." "You'll find out soon enough." Her palms became sweaty.
Knees weak, arms are heavy.
There's vomit on the sweater already. Mom's spaghetti, she's nervous, but on the surface she looks calm and ready to drop bombs. But she
keeps on forgetting.
Well, she wrote down, the whole crowd goes Celeste. She opens her mouth, but the words don't come. I got tongue-tied on that. Listen, it's been a long day for me. I just got home from a shift at work not 2 hours ago.
It's been a long day.
I have been talking for 6.5 hours, okay? Let's be nice to me. Be nice to me.
Never. I live to be cruel.
Yes, she was going to die. It had come at last. The doors groaned open to reveal a throne room. A glass chandelier shaped like a grapevine occupied most of the ceiling,
nice,
spitting seeds of diamond fire onto the windows along the far side of the room. That's a nice image.
Yeah.
Like, let's get some more of that, please. I would like to better picture this place. Compared to the bleakness outside those windows, the opulence. Opulence.
We own everything.
The king owns everything. Felt like a slap to the face, a reminder of how much they profited from her labor.
Yeah, you are a slave. That's kind of what happens with slavery.
That's the whole bit of it, isn't it?
Yeah.
In here, the captain of the guard growled and shoved her with his free hand, finally releasing her. Selena stumbled, her calloused feet slipping on the smooth floor as she straightened herself. She looked back to see another 6 guards appear. 14 guards plus the captain.
Mm-hmm.
Hang on, I'm doing math. So 6 guards here. How many were there before?
It was like 8.
Nope, 6 guards. He was standing there with 6 guards. Six plus 6 is 12. Because it says earlier, he was standing there with 6 guards. Now there are 6 more guards.
Okay.
She looked... 14 guards plus the captain, so not counting the captain.
So 15 people.
15 people total.
Not counting her.
Yeah, just 14 guards. There's only 12 guards, but okay.
Mm-hmm.
Unless I missed something, which is entirely possible. I'm very tired, but it's possible. However, I think they've forgotten how many guards there were before. The gold royal emblem embroidered on the breast of the black uniforms. Sorry, that came out weird because of how I broke up this reading. Let me give that another shot. 14 guards plus the captain. The gold royal emblem embroidered on the breast of black uniforms. These were members of the royal family's personal guard, ruthless, lightning-swift soldiers trained from birth to protect and kill. She swallowed tightly. There we go. Now it sounds better.
Mm-hmm.
Light-headed and immensely heavy all at once, Selena faced the room. On an ornate redwood throne sat a handsome young man. Her heart stopped as everyone
bowed. Wait, why
bowed.
isn't this throne made of glass? Missed opportunity.
Bullshit!
Ugh.
She was standing in front of the crown prince of Aderlin. End
Dun, dun,
chapter.
dun.
And again, okay. I'm trying not to be too repetitive, and this is already getting on 45 minutes long. Um, I just hate that it's there's so many better ways to introduce your character and so many better ways that are brought up in this chapter that could have been used, but instead were just kind of skipped over so that SJM didn't have to write any actual action scenes but still gets to brag about her character being a cool action hero badass. Um, I know that she said that she was betrayed and captured, but like, that's kind of a job hazard, sweetie. If you're the best assassin in the land, you probably shouldn't be having too many people in a position of being able to backstab you to that degree.
Yeah.
Probably should have killed those people by now. So, I don't know. I don't buy this character, and given the continuing issues that are going to come up throughout this book, there's nothing supremely wrong with this first chapter, but it's also not very strong.
Mm-hmm.
Like, if I was reading this passively, I might just kind of give a couple sentences an extra glance and just be like, okay, like, whatever, not very good, but if it's entertaining enough, I'll keep reading.
Yeah.
And maybe my opinion has changed, not likely, and maybe it will be entertaining enough to enjoy without this.
Ribbing on it.
Not likely. We'll see. So that was the first chapter of Throne of Glass. I hope that you out there enjoyed it. If you actually learned something from listening to us talk about writing, I hope that you did. That is kind of the intended purpose of this, beyond just shitting on SJM, my mortal nemesis.
That hack fraud SJM.
So yeah, please let me know in the comments if this was actually helpful to you in your writing journey, if you also have some hot takes about SJM, and what's your D&D class of choice? Please enlighten us.
Yeah.
And we will see you in the next episode.
Bye.
Bye.
Thank you so much for watching, and a special thank you to my patrons. If you'd like to see your name here or in the description below, please consider joining my Patreon. Your support means so much to me and allows me to continue making content. If you want to support my content in different ways, consider buying my books, donating on Ko-fi, subscribing to the channel, or even just giving this video a like and comment. Any and everything is appreciated so much. Keep growing till next time, Rose Garden!